If you had been loitering here at this very spot on the February the 9th, 1567, you might have been witness to a notorious meeting. Coming up this narrow alleyway on your right was Mary Queen of Scots with her sizable retinue. It would have been interesting to observe her mood. She was returning from visiting Darnley, her estranged husband. It was no secret that there was no love lost between these two, and their relationship had worsened the previous year when Darnley and his thugs broke into a private dinner party that Mary was hosting and stabbed a man called David Rizzio to death right before her eyes. Now, Rizzio was a person that she was rumoured to have been in love with. So, back to this meeting. Coming down the alley that day at the same time was James Hepburn, the Earl of Bothwell, along with some of his men. Now, some witnesses would maintain that the two simply passed one another by with courteous nods. However, the violent events that took place that night suggest otherwise. After nightfall, there was an explosion at the house where Darnley was staying, and his dead body was found unceremoniously flung outside. However, he had not died from wounds sustained during the explosion. Instead, he had been strangled to death. Bothwell was accused of the murder. However, he was acquitted when he and Mary married that May. Now look to your right and have a quick inspection of the inscription on the lintel above the door of this house. Sometimes you have to read the words out loud for them to make sense. What it says is, "Heave a watch, ups, I'm no deed yet." In 1861, a baker had his premises there. Business must have been good because he took it upon himself to try and install larger ovens. To do so, he had to knock down some walls. Big mistake. The walls he took out were load-bearing, and within 48 hours, in the middle of the night, the multi-storey high tenement came crashing down. Neighbours rushed out to try and rescue those trapped in the rubble, but one by one, the only people they pulled out were already dead, 35 in all. They had pretty much given up hope of finding anyone alive in the wreckage. Then a small voice emerged from deep in the rubble. It belonged to 14-year-old Joseph McIver, who had been visiting his uncle who lived in the tenement. The rescuers started to scrabble away at the wreckage, and Joseph called out to them in those words you can see carved above you. "Heave a watch, chaps, I'm no deed yet." Joseph was the only survivor of that disaster, and his father was so grateful for his rescue that he had his son's words immortalised in stone. The disaster had a wider and more positive effect on the city too. It spurred the council into drawing up building regulations and addressing the issue of overcrowding. Brilliant. Okay, let's carry on down.